something that you learned last year is called factoring, right? So if we have a polynomial, we're looking for the zeros, and one of the easiest ways we can do that is through factoring. And you may have used the box method, you may have done completing the square, you may have just used the quadratic formula. That's another easy way to find the zeros. But for these problems, I'll do the first one for you. Factoring is kind of the easiest way to go about this. So if I make a box, I like a good box method. I think it's easier to see for some of us. This is not how I learned how to do it in school, fun fact. This is the new age math, so get excited. Okay, so I'm gonna take this first part of our polynomial and I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna take our last part of our polynomial and I'm gonna put it over here. Okay, and so what the box method is just saying is, okay, well, what two things when they are multiplied give me an x squared? Well, I have an x and an x. Okay, so x times x gives me x squared. Okay, cool. And then now I'm looking, well, okay, well, what two things give me a negative 35? So if I think about negative 35, I think about negative 7, 5, negative 5, 7, maybe like a negative 135 for feeling bold, a negative 35, 1. Okay, so here are kind of my options. So I'm gonna go with the first one just because it's the first one on my list. So negative 7 times positive 5 will give me negative 35. So now I want to fill in this box right here. And so I'm going to do negative 7 times x. So a negative 7 times x gives me a negative 7x. And then a 5 times x gives me a 5x. And so we want to check to make sure that this is factored correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to add diagonally. Okay, so adding diagonally, negative 7x plus 5x gives me a negative 2x. And now we're going to check over here to see if that negative 2x matches here. And it does. So these are my two factors. So now I can take these two factors and I can write it in factored form. So to write it in factored form, it ends up as x minus 7 times x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, and so if I use my zero product property, I'm going to erase this down here, just like what we did above, I end up with x minus 7 equals 0. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So I end up with x equals 7 as one of my zeros. And then x plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 5, right? And I end up with x equals negative 5. So you might start noticing that when we have it in factored form, it's just really the number that we have flipped, right? So this was a negative 7, so we know that our 0 is going to be positive 7. And this was a positive 5, so we know that our 0 is going to be negative 5. So hopefully this was a nice review of the box method for those of you that have forgotten it.